Your knowledge of contract language is imperative.
You must know what a violation looks like if you wish to be active in its cessation.
It is important to understand that being active and knowledgeable affects your overall bargaining strength.
Together, we can forge a more militant NALC.
Good morning and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier, with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today we have one that's geared more towards stewards, but anyone can listen to this one if they want to. First, I'd like to talk about a communication from the National NALC. They determined the time frame for the December penalty overtime exclusion period. This year, the December period begins pay period 26 of 25, week 1, November 29th, and ends pay period 1, week 2, December 26th. So that's going to be November 29th to December 26th. Anything after 10 will not be penalty. This is the one time a year for 1 month where there won't be any penalty. But keep in mind, the penalty overtime exclusion period does not affect the new provisions bargained for, outlined in Article 8, Section 4G, which requires carriers to be paid at the rate of 2.5 times their base hourly straight time for any hours worked beyond 12 hours in a service day or 60 hours in a service week. Obviously, that's going to rely upon National ensuring that the service actually does what they say they're going to do. But, moving on, today's episode is going to be geared toward reports. Like I said, this is kind of more towards stewards, but any carrier could be listening in to determine all the different types of reports that will be at a steward's utility to be able to use in terms of proving the burden of their case file. Like I've mentioned before, Article 31 allows us to have access to any information management has access to in their own arsenal. So with that being said, there are a number of reports we have that are available. Today, I'm going to focus on TACs, and another day I'm going to do a different things like DOIS, but for today, we'll do a TACs. You know what TACs means? That is the Time and Attendance Control System. The data in this system generates several city delivery reports. If management manipulates a TACs report, they can make all the numbers look good. How many reports do you think are available in TACs? Now here's a question. Do you think it's 15, 54, 85, or 115? I'll give you a couple seconds. What do you think it is? Well, I hope you guessed 85 because that's what it was. There are 85 different reports in TACs. Obtaining information, you want to ask to review clock rings. If you ask for actual rings, management will send you reports and charge you if you need more than 100 copies for the grievance. The Postal Service can save tax reports in PDF format. As long as you have Adobe, you can also read the rings, and they are searchable. So if you're looking for a particular phrase like 1017B, they are searchable if they save it in PDF format. So not only do you save money if you request it in PDF format, but also you save time. Now, one thing to note, I was told that you had the right to request in PDF format by somebody that was higher up, but I couldn't find where to find that. Well, Robbie Gardner, I believe, is the one who ended up telling me where it was. And that is Handbook AS 353, Section 4. There is a Section 432.12 where it says, the records custodian must provide copies of records responsive to an access request in the form specified by the requester, if feasible, including hard copy or electronic format, e.g. on a disk or thumb drive. Now, a lot of times the Postal Service, they may frown upon a thumb drive or they may frown upon sending it to you by email, but one way or the other, they should be able to get you them in PDF format if it's feasible. So, in this episode, we're going to look at a number of reports, and since you can't look at them, I will be posting them by section over on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook. If you'd like a PDF form of all of these reports, please message the Facebook and just request it, and I'll send it to you. But first we're going to start with active operations reports. There's 3 of them that I would like to reference. That is the active operations report, and that report goes by TAC 140R1. There is the National Authorized Operations Report. And then finally, there's the Employee Operation Error Report. These will be viewable on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook, so you stewards can go in there and take a look and determine whether or not these reports would help you in whatever case files you're trying to determine. Next, we're going to move on to badge reports. There are 3 reports allowing authorized users, normally the tax office, access to the information regarding badge assignments, unassigned badges, and badge type listings. There are also 10 clock ring reports, allowing users access to information regarding clock rings. So, the first one is the clock ring error report. That's TAC 800R1. This will help you determine clock ring errors. There is the missing time report. There is the overtime alert report. Many of you guys are familiar with that one. There's the overtime and leave report. This will tell you about everything about overtime and leave simultaneously. I think they're kind of focused on, this is probably a report that they worry about when they see both LWOP and overtime being used simultaneously, and they get upset at the management about that. And let's see, there's also raw ring error report. This looks like a report given to, like they would look at this in order to determine errors they need to fix that day. Ring disallowance report. This one's important because this is integral to our own money. In order to disallow, I don't know if everyone knows this, but they can disallow a carrier's rings if they can see them doing something that is unproductive, like, for example, just talking to a coworker for 30 minutes. And if they are well documented, they can be successful with disallowing this ring, but unfortunately, it can happen. Fortunately for us, it's labor intensive for them, so I don't think it happens very often. There's the self-adjustment report. There's the tours deviation report. There's the unauthorized overtime report. This is much like the disallowed report, except for instead of being a 1017A, which is time disallowance, this is a 1017B, which is unauthorized overtime. This also is labor intensive, and it requires management to fill out a 1017B, just like with the disallowed time, that would have to be filled with a 1017A. 1017A is when time is disallowed because they allege the carrier was not working, and a 1017B is a form filled out by a supervisor when time is disallowed for unauthorized overtime. These are labor intensive, so a lot of times they will disallow time or make overtime unauthorized just to make their numbers look good, but they won't do the paperwork because it actually wasn't real. So you got to keep up with that. There's also it's a scheduled day off overtime report, which this may be useful for those who are building case files in regards to NS day equitability. That is the SDO overtime report, and it's TAC 800RA. This will tell you everybody who worked on their scheduled day off for a given period of time. So you can do the whole quarter and determine who worked all their scheduled days off. And then you can ask management for charges. So this one's going to be important, fellas. Make sure you use that one. Talk about earlier, if a supervisor disallows time for the rest of the pay week, every time the supervisor logs into tax, a note will come up on the screen informing the manager to fill out a 1017. They will claim that they didn't know. Don't let them blow smoke and tell you they didn't know. They have to actually fill out the physical form. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so another thing I'd like to talk about, this is employee reports. There are 11 employee reports. We got the authorized higher level report, the automatic higher level report. Those are for basically higher level pay. Most of the time you would see this with the 204B. The employee everything report, which is always the golden standard. That is the golden standard. Employee everything will tell you everything that happened for the most part. That is the golden standard report. If you are to only put one report in, the employee everything will be the golden standard for hours related grievances. There's the employee file comparison report, employee listing report, which is, the employee listing is important too. Robbie Gardner, great guy. He talked to me about the importance of the employee listing report, and I agree with him. He said you probably should put one of these in every single case file because this thing tells you who works at that office for that given period of time. So it sounds like to me that should be the controlling document for who works there and who doesn't. Management can't come up with excuses. Oh, that person, we don't even know if they work there. Not that they usually do, but we do need to make sure we're not letting them have any out when it comes to any grievance. Then there's the employee moves report. Then we also got employees on the clock report. This one was important for me because I was looking through these reports and I said, oh, you know what? They accused me of doing something at a particular time and they gave me a letter warning. Well, the employees on the clock report can show exactly who is on the clock at that time. So I did an employees on the clock report for a certain date, for a certain time, and it tells you everybody who's in a paid status on the clock right there. And you can go ahead and get a list of people you need to interview now for something that might have occurred on the clock at that time. Then there's the higher level details report, LTD duty rehab report. And then there's the carrier moves report. And for that one, you can see all the different operations the carriers move to. Now for these employee reports, I am going to go through some common things because there's a lot of stuff on those reports that you're going to be looking at and you're going to be scratching your head like, oh my God, I don't know what the hell is going on. So I just have to give you some common work hour codes. If you're seeing a 3-digit code, it's likely the work hour codes if it matches any of these indications. 052 is regular work hours. That's your total day's work hours. 043, that's penalty overtime. 055 is annual leave. 057, holiday work. 048, holiday premium. 067, military leave. 071 is COP, continuation of pay. 059, partial day LWOP. 070, steward time. That's for stewards only, not carriers. 053 is overtime. 054, night differential. 056, sick leave. 058 is holiday leave. 061, court leave. 069, blood leave. 049, injury LWOP. 060, full day LWOP. Or 084 is union leave. Here are some of the common operational codes. 354 is standby. 613 is steward time. 622 is travel and delivery services. 632 is meeting time. 714 VIM route. 716 2-trip business. 718 1-trip business. 720 residential foot. 722 residential motor. 724 2-trip mixed foot. 726 2-trip mixed motor. 728 1-trip mixed foot. 730 1-trip mixed motor. 744 PM carrier office time. 713 VIM route street. 715, 2-trip business street. 717, 1-trip business street. 719, residential foot street. 721, residential motor street. 723, 2-trip mixed foot street. And 725, 2-trip mixed motor street. Also, we got 733 parcel post. 734 parcel post. The first one was street. The second one was office. 735 relay street. 736 relay office. And for the most part, that's pretty much all the ones you're going to see. Maybe 731 collections street. 732 collections office. I don't really see, other than 782, that's also training. Next, we'll move on to the next set of reports. Finance reports. Hours and dollars report. We got the LDC operation summary report. Station summary report. Flash reference report. Finance subunit descriptions report. Non-mail handler casual report. There's also 4 LTATs reports. There's the LTATs loaned employee report. LTATs missing CAG A to G report. LTATs summary report, and LTATs estimated transactions reports. These reports, maybe you'll look through them yourself because they're very situational when you might need them. Like I said, I'm going to be posting these reports on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook, so they'll be readily available for whether or not you think you might need them. I often look at these reports and decide, oh, do I need this? Do I need that? It's part of the process. Now here's some a little bit more random reports. We got the miscellaneous site report, and that just tells you site info about your postal, about your post office. Nothing too crazy there. We also have the employees not in Crossfoot. We also have pay week status detail report. There's also a weekly Form 1261 report. And then weekly total hours report. We got the pay period report. We got the pay week status detail report. The time certification report. And time certification differences report. Now these are all pay period week reports. That's what they're categorized as. We also have schedule reports. This might be useful in certain situations as well, such as the guarantee waivers no launch authorizations report. That one might be important to use when it's time for those no lunch grievances, because we got plenty of that shit going on right now. We also have the hours analysis report. I love this report. This is my preferred report for Article 8s. I use both the hours analysis. That's the quick report for me to determine who is here and on what pay status and when. And then I use the employee everything report because that's the gold standard for everything that occurred during that time frame. But the hours analysis report is very useful. There's the hours type inquiry. You can inquire about certain types of hours that were used. Like, for example, if you suspect that someone didn't get their continuation of pay, you can do an hours type inquiry of 070. Now, there's many other ways you can do that as well, but that's just one example. There's the master schedule report, and there's manual input of holiday leave report. There is the daily hours report, and the schedule report. Those are the 7 schedule reports that I know of. Now, last but not least, let's see. These are time card entry reports. This is mostly to check on timekeeping records. There's a user access report. There's a user log report. And then there's the user template report. And that's pretty much all the reports I got here, and I'm going to be posting them on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook. I think this is some of the most useful information you can have as a steward. I would go through these reports and determine, like, okay, well, this might help me in this case. This might help me in that case. If I'm just having a hard time proven my burden, I will go back and look at these useful reports that were put together. This was put together by Region 6. Maybe National did it, but my region gave it to me. So I assume it's Region 6. So this was put together by Region 6. I often go back to these types of reports and say, okay, well, I'm having a hard time proving my burden. Is there anything in here that I can request from management that would help alleviate that burden? And one thing I would like to let you guys know is a postal supervisor has unlimited power to change, delete, or enter time or codes in TACs. Now, fortunately, there are checks and balances. Anytime a supervisor changes, deletes, or enters time, three things happen. The supervisor's employee ID is recorded. The date the entry was made was recorded. And the time the entry was made is recorded. But the time is central time, not actual time. Now, supervisors can also make entries at any time until the pay week closes. And here are some things you might look for if you suspect a manager is stealing pay. You can get a copy of that employee everything report and put it in Adobe. And you can search for out to lunch and in from lunch and 093 no lunch code. Check for all those three things because that's oftentimes how they steal time from you. And make sure those carriers were determined to be on or off of a lunch. Check in with the carriers to make sure they actually took their lunches. If you know someone that's often not taking their lunch and it looks like they took one, I would check in with them to say, hey, did you actually take your lunch? Make sure you look for changes in begin tour and changes in end tour. Oftentimes these things will result in a 1017. Like for example, let's say they punch in at 8 and management says, you know what? Screw that guy. I want to take 30 minutes away from that asshole. Well, guess what? They're gonna have to put in a 1017 to disallow that punch in at 8 a.m. And then that will come up on the tax everything report as a 1017A. And if they fake that they filled out the paperwork, it'll say disallowed time. If they don't, it'll say needs more information. And that's what I was talking about. It'll come up every day, every time they go in, and it'll remind them, hey, you need more information, because it will ask them, what exactly did this person do that was disallowed? Also, you got to look for rings deleted from PC, but just because a ring was deleted does not mean that they are in fact something nefarious going on. These items can be searched easily. Like, for example, if a ring was deleted from PC, you can search for 1017, and you'll find every single instance that a 1017 shows up. If you suspect a supervisor stealing time, request to review any 1017As or 1017Bs before asking for the Employee Everything Report, and see how it matches to the Employee Everything Report. Now in DOIS, local managers can manipulate mail volumes, but they cannot manipulate the time a carrier spends casing and delivering mail. The manipulation must occur in TACs. So in order to find a manager stealing time, TACs is the system you need to be in. Here are some of the codes you might want to look for if you're trying to find that a supervisor is trying to steal time in terms of like route adjustments. These are codes that are not going to count towards your route. So a lot of times they'll just throw them in there to try and fuck over a route and get the time that's not counted toward the route on record. The codes you might be wanting to look for are 354 waiting time, 613 steward time, 622 travel, 632 meeting time, 709 router time, 741 miscellaneous activity delivery, 742 miscellaneous activity customer service, 743 carrier customer support, 782 training time, 731 collection time, 733 parcel post, 735 relay time, 737 combination, and 767 express. Some of you stewards who might see these things pop up when they're not actually happening, you might think, oh man, no one's getting hurt, so I don't really care. But if you find that a manager has manipulated clock rings in any way, the problem needs to be fixed. There's actually an underlying reason why they're doing that. They're not doing that for nothing. management will try and sweep it under the rug. And a lot of stewards, they might think, you know what, it's not important enough for me to chase after. But the reality of the situation is, it is. And, before I end this, I just want to say one thing. You can get your management in a habit to delivering you certain documentation on a regular basis. Like, for example, if you have regular Article 8, which many of us do, it's not called phishing when you just by default request the employee everything every week, because there is a history of that issue. So you have the right to investigate these things. Don't let management think that you don't. Phishing, it's not actually phishing. Phishing is if you think there's no problem at all and you're just looking for a problem. If you have any hunch, any suspicion, that's not phishing. That's confirming whether or not your information was true. So, I will leave you on that. And like I said, all these will be posted on the Parcels of Knowledge Facebook. Hopefully this episode was useful. I'm hoping it's not like something that everyone hates. It would have been useful for me as a new steward, but that doesn't mean it's useful for everyone. So, if you don't mind, leave me a comment. Let me know if you like this one, or if you think different things should come instead in the future. Hopefully you learned something valuable today, and as always, have a good day.
Out to the Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God, we need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievance Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Brothers and sisters, this guy is good, man. He's fucking good.
And my boy Joshua, he killed it. Man, he's lockstep right now. He's killing it.
You would think this guy is bigger